Michael Andretti. He wasn't just some rich American with a racing fetish. He was F1 royalty in exile. His father, Mario Andretti, is a world champion. His family name is tattooed into American motorsport history. And Michael himself? He raced in F1 back in 1993. One miserable season at McLaren, paired with Ayrton Senna, where he was chewed up and spat out by a system that never gave him a real chance. He returned to IndyCar with a chip on his shoulder and built an empire. Andretti Autosport became a giant, winning races, championships, even the Indy 500. But F1 remained unfinished business. So in 2021, Michael launched a full assault. His first play was quiet. He tried to buy Sauber. Everything was in motion. Andretti even flew to Switzerland to finalize the deal. But at the last minute, the rug was pulled. The Sauber board reportedly demanded control over team decisions, even if Andretti paid the full price. That was a deal breaker. Michael walked. He didn't give up. He came back louder. In 2022, Andretti Global submitted a formal bid to join F1 as a brand new team, targeting the 2024 grid. He promised American engineering, a US-based HQ, GM backing, and even an eventual Cadillac power unit. He had the infrastructure, the business model, the manufacturer, the marketing plan, everything. But Formula One wasn't buying it. The FIA approved his bid. They saw the merit. But Liberty Media and FOM, the sports commercial gatekeepers, slammed the door. They said Andretti wouldn't add value. They claimed it would dilute the prize fund. But that wasn't the real reason. The truth. F1 didn't want another team, especially not one that could disrupt the European club. Andretti became a villain in the eyes of the paddock. Every public statement he made only deepened the resistance. F1 insiders whispered that he was entitled, that he expected the sport to bend for him. But the fan base didn't care. They rallied behind him, American fans, especially, who were desperate for their own team in a sport dominated by European giants. Andretti called it a political battle. He wasn't wrong, but politics in F1 isn't fought with speeches. It's fought with leverage. And despite his legacy, Andretti didn't have any. No team, no race slot, no TV contract. Just a vision the sport didn't want to see. As of now, he's building a new facility in Indiana anyway. Cadillac remains on board. The bid for 2026 is still technically alive, but the message is clear. Formula One isn't a meritocracy. It's a monarchy. And Michael Andretti, despite his name, hasn't earned a throne. Dmitry Mazepin. When Dmitry Mazepin entered Formula One, he didn't come with ambition. He came with a sledgehammer. His son, Nikita Mazepin, had money, but not talent. He'd barely scraped through junior categories, known more for controversy than consistency. But Dmitry didn't care. He had billions in oil money from Uralkali, a fertilizer giant with deep Kremlin ties, and he made Haas F1 an offer they couldn't refuse. In 2021, Haas was broke. COVID had battered their budget. Romain Grosjean's crash had left them rattled, and Dmitry came with salvation. He offered full sponsorship, a blank check, and a seat for his son. Gene Haas, cornered by survival, said yes. Nikita got the drive, Haas got the money, and F1 got one of its most blatant pay driver scandals in recent memory. On track, Nikita was outclassed. He spun, he crashed, he got lapped by his teammate. But it wasn't about performance, it was about control. Dmitry was reportedly micromanaging everything. Media image, car branding, even team decisions. Haas went from being an underdog outfit to a Russian billboard with an anchor strapped to its ankles. Then came 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine, and suddenly, the entire Mazepin empire became radioactive. Sanctions hit fast. Uralkali was banned from F1. The company's logos were stripped off the cars overnight. Haas terminated both the sponsorship and Nikita's contract within 48 hours. Dmitry, furious, filed lawsuits. He claimed the team violated contracts. He demanded the money back. F1 didn't blink. The paddock turned cold. Dmitry was now on the EU sanctions list, with links to the Kremlin too dangerous to ignore. His entire presence in the sport became a liability. He went from team owner in waiting to a blacklisted pariah in less than a year. What's tragic is that Dmitry never wanted to build a team. He wanted to buy a legacy. He thought money could shortcut the system, that power could be inherited through wire transfers. But in Formula One, legitimacy is earned on track, not in boardrooms. Now, Nikita is gone. The lawsuits failed. Uralkali's name is erased. And Dmitry Mazepin's attempt to shape his son into an F1 legend ended with exile, disgrace, and silence. Vladimir Kim. For months, Vladimir Kim was just a whisper whisper in the Formula One world. No flashy press conferences, no self-congratulatory interviews. Just a shadowed billionaire from Kazakhstan who controlled enormous influence through mining empires and banking networks and was rumored to be backing Roden Cars, the New Zealand-based motorsport firm that suddenly wanted a piece of the F1 grid. Roden wasn't just any startup. Their founder, David Dicker, had sunk millions into motorsport tech, building hypercars, simulators, even training facilities. But when Roden announced their bid to join F1 for 2026, eyebrows raised. Who was funding this audacious leap? Then came the reveal. Roden's F1 project wasn't just David Dicker's dream. It had Kazakhstan's richest man quietly bankrolling it. Vladimir Kim, with a net worth upwards of $4 billion, had started consolidating influence behind the scenes. He never sought the spotlight, but Roden needed legitimacy, and Kim's involvement gave them just that: geopolitical leverage, economic power, and the kind of backing no other startup team had. Roden promised to bring diversity to the grid, not just in personnel, but in geographic representation. They even committed to fielding a female driver, offering Jamie Chadwick a future F1 test role. They had factory plans, technical partnerships, and long-term investment blueprints. But once again, Formula One played gatekeeper. The FIA gave Roden the green light on technical grounds, but Liberty Media and FOM shut it down without blinking. They claimed insufficient value, that Roden didn't bring commercial upside. But this time, the rejection wasn't just about money or infrastructure, it was about power. F1 didn't want its doors open to outsiders backed by foreign oligarchs, especially not ones with ties to underrepresented regions like Central Asia. It was easier to preserve the existing power balance than to explain why a Kazakh-backed team deserved a shot more than, say, Porsche. Vladimir Kim never released a public statement. He simply vanished from the headlines as quietly as he entered. Roden, bruised but defiant, later published a scathing report criticizing FE1's rejection, calling the process opaque and politically driven. They weren't wrong. F1's system isn't about pure merit. It's about who already has a seat at the table. And no matter how rich Vladimir Kim was, he never got the invite. Roden shut down its single-seater division months later. Their F1 dream? Dead. All that's left now is silence and a sobering reminder. Even billions can't break through F1's velvet rope without the right passport. Calvin Lowe, this man is a walking contradiction. By day, he's a suave, impeccably dressed Hong Kong billionaire CEO of R. Ely International, one of Asia's top life insurance brokers. He graces Forbes lists. He poses next to Lamborghinis. He gives interviews about fine wine collections and tailored suits. But by night at least, in the F1 world, Calvin Lowe became something else. A mystery wrapped in confusion, headlines, and unverifiable hype. It all began in 2022, when Lowe announced he was exploring entry into Formula One. No team name, no partner, just that he was seriously considering becoming the next big team owner. The media jumped on it. Headlines flew. Asian billionaire to join F1 grid? Hong Kong's richest man targets F1. But as the spotlight intensified, the cracks began to show. Lowe gave vague timelines. He name-dropped anonymous European investors backing him. He floated partnerships with existing teams without naming them. At one point, he claimed to be involved in almost every team on the grid through indirect investments. But nobody, not Liberty Media, not the FIA, not the teams, confirmed anything. There were no filings, no technical partnerships, no driver pipeline, no factory, no simulator tech, nothing. Just interviews, flashy magazine spreads, and quotes about how excited he was. In 2023, the rumors reached a boiling point. Lowe said he was considering buying an existing F1 team, again without naming which one. Then he flipped, saying he might just start a new one altogether. Fans on Reddit called him Formula One's Anna Delvey all charm. No receipts. Then, the final blow came from inside the paddock. Multiple journalists and insiders confirmed Calvin Lowe had no official presence in F1. He had no bid with the FIA, no submission, no financial structure registered for team application. Everything he'd said, it seemed, was built on smoke and mirrors. Whether he genuinely tried and failed behind the scenes, or whether it was all a PR illusion, no one knows. What's clear is this: F1 required requires more than headlines. It requires machinery. Lowe brought noise, but no substance. His tale is a masterclass in how media hunger and billionaire bravado can create a narrative out of thin air, and how fast it all crumbles when the truth doesn't follow. He still claims he's interested in joining the grid, but with no roadmap, no credibility, and no sanctioning body taking him seriously, Calvin Lowe has become exactly what F1 fans now say he is. All suit, no steering wheel. Craig Pollock. To most modern fans, the name Craig Pollock means little, but rewind the tape and you'll find one of the most influential figures of F1's early 2000s drama. He was the mastermind who brought British-American racing to life, a team that burned cash like jet fuel and flamed out with drama, politics, and lawsuits. After being forced out of BAR in 2002, most assumed Pollock would never return. But like all good F1 stories, the ghosts come back. In 2023, 2 decades after his exile, Craig Pollock suddenly resurfaced announcing Formula Equal, a bold new initiative to create the most gender-balanced Formula One team in history. On paper, it was revolutionary. 50% male, 50% female workforce. A long-term plan to develop female engineers, mechanics, executives, and drivers. Headquarters split between Europe and the Middle East to tap into untapped talent pools. And crucially, backed by undisclosed sovereign wealth from the Gulf. Pollock made the media rounds, passionately pitching the idea as a step toward true equality in F1. He spoke like a man on a mission, less businessman, more visionary. But behind the speeches, nothing added up. There was no registered company under the Formula Equal name, no public records of manufacturing, no confirmed investors, and most suspiciously, no driver academy pipeline, despite claiming they'd launch with a female F1 driver, something no team has achieved in over 40 years. When asked about the money, Pollock danced around specifics. He said the funding came from a Gulf country, but refused to name which one. Speculation pointed to Saudi Arabia, but F1 insiders claimed no formal bid had been received. Even the FIA admitted they had no tangible evidence of Pollock's proposal beyond vague documents. Weeks turned into months. Formula Equal didn't launch a website, didn't announce any hires, didn't open a factory. It became the ghost of a team floating through headlines, never touching ground. The deeper issue: nobody in the paddock wanted Craig Pollock back. He was seen as a relic from a chaotic era, a man whose last team hemorrhaged hundreds of millions, left behind a legacy of dysfunction, and still managed to fall short of a single race win. Giving him another go was seen by many as rewarding failure. By mid-2024, the project had gone cold. Pollock stopped giving interviews, the F1 press moved on, and Formula Equal faded into oblivion. No factory, no driver, no equality, just a recycled dream from a man the sport had already buried. Stephen Fitzpatrick. He is no fool. He's a Harvard-educated entrepreneur. He built OVO Energy, one of the UK's fastest-growing utility companies, a billionaire with vision and execution. So when he bought the ashes of Marussia F1 in 2015, many thought this was the start of something bold. The team was rebranded Manor Racing, and Fitzpatrick poured millions into survival new chassis development, recruiting engineers, bringing in promising drivers like Pascal Wehrlein, and even working with Mercedes for power units. For a brief window in 2016, it looked like Fitzpatrick might pull off a miracle. Manor had the smallest budget, but they were scrapping in midfield, occasionally out-qualifying Renault and Sauber. They even scored a crucial point in Austria, which could have secured prize money for the next season. But that one point wasn't enough. In the final race of the year at Abu Dhabi, Sauber's Felipe Nasr finished 9th, earning 2 points that leapfrogged Manor in the constructors' standings. Just like that, Manor lost over $15 million in prize money. That race doomed the team. Behind the scenes, Fitzpatrick had already pumped over £30 million of his personal fortune into Manor. He believed in a long-term vision, but F1 doesn't offer patience, it demands survival. Desperate to save the team, he opened the doors to potential buyers. One group from Indonesia, another from the US. All kicked the tires, but none sealed the deal. The bills piled up. Staff were laid off. Development stopped. By January 2017, Manor entered administration. Fitzpatrick later revealed how gut-wrenching the collapse was. He hadn't just lost money, he lost people he believed in, talent he nurtured, technologies he helped build. He walked away from F1 bitter, calling it the most expensive lesson of his life. But the sport doesn't apologize. It didn't care that Fitzpatrick meant well. It didn't care that he tried harder than anyone else. All it saw was another billionaire who couldn't stomach the cost. His dream to prove a small team could punch above its weight. The result? A $40 million black hole. And yet another reminder. In Formula One, money keeps you alive, but it doesn't make you competitive.